Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
$2 million, a ruined reputation, and a heart that bled rage. The court took everything except my daughters. My wife? She took more. She paraded her betrayal through every part of my life, friends, co-workers, even the house we lived in together. Her lovers sat at my dinner table, joked in my living room, and shared my bed behind my back. She wanted me to accept it, my daughters later whispered. Accept being a cuckold? Never. I'd rather lose everything than grovel at her feet again. We packed up, and everyone shared hugs. Freddie and Kathy surprised Don with a kind gesture. It made me feel a little annoyed about the whole thing. I promised Don's daughters that I would invite them back for the ski season. We got into our cars and started the drive home. As we were following Don's car to the highway, Megan and Robin waved back at me every so often. I quietly mentioned that I wished I could ride with them. Kathy and Freddie happily suggested I call Don on his phone so we could switch seats for a bit. They said they would gladly keep him company. I wasn't sure about leaving Don alone with them. Eventually, our paths split on the highway, and I waved goodbye to Megan and Robin. The weekend had been great. Megan and Robin talked a lot about the fun they had. The only thing that made them a bit sad was that they wouldn't see Maria for a while. This reminded me about our decision to go to therapy together. I didn't feel ready to bring it up just then. I thought that when I finally did mention it, I would say that Maria would be joining us. That might make everything easier. I really enjoyed the weekend. Those 2 days were the best I'd had in years. The attention from the women boosted my confidence. They weren't serious, but their kindness felt nice. They even made me think about dating again. But first, I needed to sort out my thoughts. I planned to call my own therapist on Monday to set up an appointment. I wanted to get my feelings straightened out, and for the first time in a while, I felt motivated to do it. That thought made me feel guilty, though. It was strange that my love for my daughters didn't push me, but attention from others could. I was being harder on myself than I should be. We finally got back to my apartment, and I made dinner for the girls. I created something like lasagna, but with thick slices of Italian sausage and lots of cheese. My girls love cheesy dishes. At dinner, I talked to them about my and Maria's worries for their feelings. I told them that both Maria and I thought visiting a therapist might be a good idea for all of us. I wanted them to know Maria was involved because they liked her. I emphasized how much Maria cared for them and how she had already suggested a therapist to me. I mentioned that Maria even offered to come with us. At first, they looked a bit scared, but their faces brightened when they learned Maria would be joining us. They began asking me questions right away. "Is Maria staying for dinner?" they asked. I told them yes, even though I wasn't sure. I would do whatever it took to have her there. "Could we have a movie party?" I said yes, but only if Maria had the time and only for one movie. They needed to finish their homework before our therapy session if they wanted to enjoy their time with her. Their disappointed faces showed they still had work to do for tomorrow. They had promised everything would be done before we left. Even though I was unsure, they had insisted that they were telling the truth. In my home, that was a serious promise. So I had to push them to get started. I understood why they felt this way, and I didn't want to be the strict one. But they had the evening to catch up, and they were going to do that, or else no treats or video games for a week. I guess I had to be a bit tough. The next morning, I got them off to school on time. They would go straight to Barb's house after school, and I wouldn't see them again until Wednesday. I called my therapist, Dr. Huff, who was pleased to hear I wanted to work on my anger issues. She was happy to meet later that evening. She always seemed ready to help her patients. While driving between customer sites, I took the chance to call Maria and see if she could join our therapy session. "Hello, Maria. It's Don. Do you have a moment to talk?" "Hold on a second, Don. Okay, I'm ready. What's going on?" "I spoke with Megan and Robin about the therapist you suggested. They felt a bit worried at first, but they were relieved to know you would be there. I overheard them last night. I know I shouldn't have, but I had to. They were concerned that you might think they were odd or wouldn't want to be their friend anymore. They really like you, Maria." "Oh no, those poor kids. Why would they think that? I like them a lot too. I miss them already. I have a favor to ask. They would love for you to join us for dinner after the therapy session. I can make a snack beforehand to hold us over. You're still planning to go, right? Yes, I said I would go with you, and I will. Don't worry. Could you please spend some time with them afterward? We could even have a mini-movie night. I rushed through my words, eager to share everything. By that time, it might be too late for you to drive home. I have a guest room, and I know they would be so excited if you spent the night with us. It would be such a big surprise for them. Please, Maria, I'll make whatever you want for dinner. I'm really hoping you'll think about it. Keeping my girls happy has always been my main goal, especially during tough times. This would be a great treat for them if Maria would agree. Don, I can definitely stay late with Megan and Robin. I'm not sure about spending the night. Let me think it over and get back to you. This isn't a no. I just might have some other things that could keep me from staying the whole night. I'll let you know soon. Thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate it. Think about what you'd like for dinner, too. Bye, and thanks again. Bye, Don. Take care. I felt like I got a good part of what I wanted that day, which was a lot better than nothing. Later, I got an automated email about a stock alert. It reminded me of the money problems I faced after my divorce. During that tough time, finding a job was really hard. I felt tired of programming and didn't think starting my own company was a good choice. With my reputation damaged, I worried I wouldn't find any work. I also needed a place to stay. Over the years, I heard that owning a small apartment building could be profitable if you took care of maintenance and management yourself. That idea made sense, so I began searching for an apartment building to buy. I got lucky and found a struggling condominium project in the same school district as my kids. The first phase of the building was not finished, and they were having financial problems. After talking with local officials, I learned they would not mind if I changed it into apartments instead of condos. I placed a bid on the unfinished Phase 1, which had one large building with just the outside walls built. Some internal framing was done, but nothing else. The land was big enough for a second building if I decided I could afford it later. To keep it short, I won the bid. At first, I had to pay for everything myself, which cost almost $1 million. This covered the purchase price, more construction costs, and my own salary. Eventually, I was able to get financing and paid back half of it. I subcontracted some of the construction, but managed to do a lot myself. Choosing good materials helped me save a lot of money. A year and a half later, I had an apartment building that looked impressive and was fully rented. At that time, I finally received a job offer for a tech support position, helping corporate clients with their computer and network issues. Even though it was below my skill level and paid half of my previous income, the hours were easy, and the work was relaxing. My new employers valued my work and made sure I was happy. Meanwhile, my company, MegRob Inc., was paying off the apartment loan from its earnings. I paid myself a salary of just under $50,000 a year, along with bonuses and healthcare benefits. MegRob provided me with a nice apartment at no cost and let me use company vehicles, including my SUV and an older truck. I was very careful when choosing my tenants. I wanted respectful people who knew how to handle basic home maintenance. I set up a website where people could report any problems, and for emergencies, I shared a number for a reliable handyman service. I also got back into trading stocks. I often had up to $1 million invested, but I wasn't a day trader. I preferred to focus on longer-term investments. From my remaining savings of $700,000, I had most of it in safe accounts. Feeling ready to take some chances, I started watching several stocks that seemed to be losing value. That evening, I got an automated email about one of those stocks. The price had dropped to under $3, 50 per share, which confused me. The company had always done well, making smart choices, even if they were a bit cautious. I reviewed what I knew about them. Their management was steady, their products got good feedback, and they were about to launch some new ideas. They also had a strong cash reserve to handle tough times. I believed the low stock price was just due to market worry, so I decided to take a reasonable risk and invested $200,000 in that stock. I hoped that in a few years, the price would go back up to between $28 and $32 a share, which could give me a tenfold return. If it didn't work out, my finances would still be okay. Later that evening, I visited Dr. Huff to talk about my feelings of frustration. Much of my anger came from the emotional pain my ex-wife and sisters had caused me. For the first time in 2.5 years, I let it all out. I struggled to keep my composure for nearly 3 hours. Dr. Huff promised to keep everything confidential. I also expressed my guilt about wanting to work through my feelings because of 4 wonderful women instead of focusing on my daughters. She reassured me that it was okay. Megan and Robin have kept you going for almost 3 years. Don't think of these other 4 women as your only reason to seek help. See them as extra support that encouraged you to take this important step. Early Tuesday evening, I got a nice call from Maria saying she could spend the night. She asked me to surprise her with dinner. I felt I needed to impress her. On Wednesday, Megan and Robin came into my apartment after school. When I arrived home, they were busy with their homework, which made me proud. Maria would be here in about half an hour, so we had time for a snack before our therapy session. I prepared some coconut fried chicken wings and a veggie platter. Megan and Robin caught a whiff of the food and wanted to eat early, but I told them they had to wait for Maria. I wanted everyone to sit together for dinner. I didn't want Maria to come and find out that Megan and Robin had already eaten. I was worried it might make her feel out of place or hurried. Maria arrived about 10 minutes early, and she looked beautiful. Megan and Robin ran to her, and she hugged them tightly. It was such a sweet moment that I felt a tear in my eye and had to look away. It reminded me that she wasn't their mom, and one day things could change. I told myself to enjoy the moment instead of thinking about what might happen later. I kept myself busy in the kitchen instead of greeting Maria right away, feeling a bit shy. I could hear them chatting happily in the living room. Finally, I brought the food to the dining table, which was a bit small for all 4 of us. They dove into the food like there was no tomorrow, racing to see who could eat the most chicken wings. Not one of them touched the vegetable tray. I thought they liked healthy food. I ended up nibbling on the carrot and celery sticks while they laughed at me, but seeing my daughters happy made it all worth it. On our drive to the therapist, they chatted away like excited birds, and it was wonderful. I met the therapist, who seemed kind. What do I know? She was normal, and Maria liked her. At first, the kids went in by themselves. Then the therapist came out to get Maria. I was glad to let them go in alone. I had my own things to think about, and I didn't think my being there would help anyone. Their session lasted almost an hour, and they all came out looking cheerful. Life was good. On the way back, they wanted to sing. This time, they chose the Beatles' A Great Pick. They sang, "Shake It, Shake It, Shake It, Baby Now." During some of the songs, Maria and the girls swayed in their seats, making the ride home full of joy. It was a lovely sight. When we got home, I started cooking dinner. I made a simple version of a Korean dish I had enjoyed years ago. I set the table with all the side dishes, sautéed spinach with garlic, spiced bean sprouts, garlic slices, onion slices, cucumber slices, and rice. Then I took some thin slices of pork similar to bacon but not smoked and cooked them in a pan. I used a special grill I found at an Asian market. It helped keep grease from building up by letting it drain into a bowl. I was frying the pork, mushrooms, garlic, and onions together, making quite a mess in the kitchen. Normally, I cook this outside, but it was too wet and cold that night. Even though it was easy to make, it was a bit tricky for me. I felt like I was in a grease battle, and I knew I would need to clean the kitchen when I was done. Megan and Robin showed Maria how to eat the meal properly. You take a piece of lettuce, put a slice of pork on it, and then add whatever you like from the side dishes. I had some sesame seed oil and soy sauce for dipping next to each plate. I preferred to add grilled mushrooms, grilled onions, and rice. Once you're done, you wrap it up and enjoy. The best part of this meal is that you can make each bite just how you want it. The trick is to keep the portions small. If you make them too big, things can get messy. This was one of Megan's and Robin's favorite meals, especially since they didn't have to cook or clean afterward. Maria seemed to enjoy it too. I was amazed by how they managed to eat almost 3 pounds of pork along with all the sides. I joked about seeing a headline that said, "3 women devour Seattle," and they playfully rolled their eyes at me. After dinner, before they settled in, Maria went to get her bag from her car. When Megan and Robin found out she was staying for the night, they were so happy. They quickly showed her to the guest room. I had put some time and effort into making it nice for tonight, and I felt proud of it. The bedroom had the first furniture I ever made, except for some cabinets. I created a queen-size bed, a dresser, and a nightstand. I had finished the oak furniture about 4 weeks ago. I thought it looked great with its simple lines. For the rest of the apartment, I had to buy furniture from the store, but for the guest room, I decided to make my own since I never expected to have a guest. I took my time and it was enjoyable. The week before, after Maria's call, I went out and bought new bedding for the room. I looked for something similar to what she had in her mountain home. Although it was pricey, I found a duvet set that seemed just right. I also bought curtains, pillows, and sheets. Plus, I found a print by the Kincaid artist that Maria likes, so I got that as well. Maybe I was looking for the print on purpose, so I'll admit that. Worried that the room might feel plain, I also bought a new television and DVD player for it. I made sure to connect it to my cable service when I set it up. Megan and Robin were surprised to see the new bedding and television. "Daddy, when did you get the new blankets and TV for the guest room?" asked Robin. I smiled and replied, "Oh, I got the TV a few weeks ago, but I just bought the new blankets and sheets. They were on sale." It's a good idea to tell part of the truth. They certainly noticed the new bedding. They all seemed to believe my story, though Maria gave me an odd look. Maybe the print and comforter matching her bedroom were a bit much? We went back to the living room, and they watched a movie while I cleaned the kitchen. After I finished cleaning the kitchen, I treated everyone to a slice of lemon meringue pie. They were all cozy in their pajamas and snuggled in blankets. It was such a sweet scene, like something from a painting, and it made me feel a little sad inside. I knew this moment wouldn't last. Taking a deep breath, I served the pie and went to take a shower. When I got out, Maria caught my eye and came over to chat in the kitchen. "Megan and Robin seem to be having a great time. Whatever you want to do tonight works for me, Maria. They've been through a lot lately, so if you want to watch an extra movie with them, that's fine. I can even take off work for them tomorrow if needed." "Okay, Don. I'm not sure about an extra movie, though. They might be tired already. But if they want to have a bit of fun tonight, I'll be there with them," Maria replied with a bright smile. "That sounds great." "I'm heading to bed now. Good night, Maria." "Good night, Don. Maybe the girls and I will all sleep in my new room." Maria smiled at me. It felt a bit strange, but I was too tired to think much about it, so I went to my room after saying goodnight to Megan and Robin. I was surprised when Megan and Robin asked me to join them and the therapist. It felt like a group session where they shared their thoughts and feelings. They opened up about some tough experiences that made me doubt their reality. Dr. Ward and I encouraged them to speak freely and reminded them that they weren't to blame. Their parents' mistakes led them to seek support. Don cooked another lovely meal. At first, it seemed simple compared to his earlier dishes, but it grew on me, and before I knew it, I had eaten a lot. When I surprised the girls with the idea of a sleepover, they were thrilled. It made me happy to see their excitement, but it also made me a bit sad, knowing our relationship might change one day. They took me to see the guest bedroom, and I was impressed. The duvet on the bed was almost just like mine, high quality too. Many people would choose something cheaper than that comforter. There was even a nice picture on the wall. Megan said the picture and the television were new additions. I wasn't sure if I should feel good about this or uneasy. Robin explained how her father had made all the furniture in that room. It was simple, yet so nice. Don mentioned casually that the comforter was on sale. Even on sale, it seemed a bit expensive for most people. While Don cleaned the kitchen, my thoughts drifted back to the duvet, the picture, and the television. I didn't think Don would buy such a nice television just for the guest room. It looked as good as any of my rooms at home. Maybe he wanted me to have a comfortable space like I had given them. That made sense. He probably used older blankets and sheets in there before. After my phone call on Tuesday, he might have rushed out to buy a new comforter set and gone a bit overboard. He could have walked into a fancy store, not knowing the prices, and ended up buying something without realizing how much it cost. That seemed likely. He might be very capable, but knowing how to shop for bedding didn't seem like his strong suit. As for the picture of Kincaid, I felt touched. Don had liked the ones in my home, so getting a print for my bedroom felt kind of thoughtful. After thinking it over, I decided to appreciate Don's kind gesture. Then, to really make me happy, he brought me a piece of pie. If I could get him to help out more often, he might be a great catch. That night, Don let me spend time with his daughters. We stayed up until 11 watching movies and chatting in the living room. Then we moved to my new bedroom for some fun together. We finished the pie and had some ice cream, too. I think we all fell asleep around 1 a.m. At 2, I woke up briefly to turn off the TV and roll Megan away from the edge of the bed. Dawn was okay with the girls taking a break from school, but I wasn't. If you play, you have to pay attention to your responsibilities. I set the alarm for 6:30. It was hard, but I dragged myself out of bed and away from Robin. Then I tried to wake her and Megan. In the end, Robin and I carried her into the bathroom and encouraged her to get ready. Robin was giggling the whole time. When we turned on the cold water, I discovered that Megan knew some surprising words for a 13-year-old. She was so shocked that Don heard her too. His reaction startled Megan and made her feel nervous. Even Robin was taken aback. I peeked out the bathroom door to see Don's serious face. "Don, everything is fine. We just had a little accident. Sometimes kids say things that slip out." I smiled weakly at him and turned back to Megan, who was standing in the shower, wide awake and looking scared. "But she said you heard what she said. Where did she learn words like that? I don't know words like that." "Don, relax. Kids pick up things these days. It happens. We need to get cleaned up, so why don't you make breakfast while we do that, okay?" "Okay, but I don't like it. Can you please talk to her about her language? I would be too embarrassed." He went off to the kitchen to make breakfast. That was a close call. I let out a deep breath. I turned back to Megan and Robin. They both looked relieved, too. "Megan, that isn't the best language for a young lady to use. I've heard worse, so don't worry too much. But you should really try to avoid saying things like that." "Where did you hear such words?" Robin replied, "Mom says it sometimes when she thinks we're asleep or busy with something else. She only does it for a little while, but she's loud enough that we can hear her. We don't catch everything, but we think she is sharing her thoughts about the divorce." That made sense, and we needed to think about Barbara, too. "Let's keep this between us and not tell your dad, okay? If we mention it, he might feel he has to talk to your mom about it. So let's keep it to ourselves for now. We can bring it up with your therapist next week." Their faces brightened. "You'll come with us again next week?" I guess I was already committed. "If it's all right with you and your dad, I would be happy to. Now you both need to get ready for school, so go wash up." They jumped into action, getting ready quickly. I washed my face, brushed my hair, and brushed my teeth at the sink. I went outside to talk to Don. Everything is set. I spoke with them, and they agreed to talk with Dr. Ward about their language next week. Don let out a sigh of relief. The girls came out, and we all pretended everything was normal. Don made his tasty French toast and sausage for breakfast, and then I drove Megan and Robin to school. I had never taken anyone to school before. When we arrived, they waved goodbye to me and pointed me out to their friends. I wished my car wasn't so dirty. If I had been in a cleaner vehicle, we could have made a better impression. I hoped I could pick them up after school, too. Wednesday nights at Don's became our routine. With ski season approaching, I wondered what their plans were for Thanksgiving. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, I finally asked, "Meg and Robin, what do you usually do for Thanksgiving?" "Well, since the divorce, our holidays are a bit tricky. For Thanksgiving, we always go to Dad's. Then Mom has us during Christmas vacation until late on Christmas night. We spend that time with Grandpa and Grandma, too. We go back to Dad late on Christmas night and have a second Christmas on the 26th. We stay with Dad until we go back to school because Mom goes to parties around New Year's. So we stay with Dad then, and he always feeds us well." Robin answered, her eyes lighting up at the last part. I wondered how Don could feed anyone better than he already did. "That sounds wonderful. How would you both like to come to my house for Thanksgiving this year? Ski season is starting, and I've made special plans with the lodge." They looked a bit sad. Did they have other plans? Had I waited too long to invite them? Megan said, "Maria, we were really hoping you could spend Thanksgiving with us here. Daddy had been talking about it, but he was worried about bothering you." "Well, we can just go to my house for Thanksgiving dinner then." I smiled at them, but they still seemed unhappy. "But Maria, if we do that, we won't get the turkey." Did I just hear an eagle? I should have known it was something about food with Don involved. How great could a turkey really be? It's fine to have turkey once a year, but then I thought about Don's other cooking. Maybe he really did make a tasty one. What's so special about the turkey? Again, with the Eagles? He takes a turkey and injects it with a mix of butter, maple syrup, and something special. Then he smokes it for hours. Megan's eyes sparkled as she spoke. Then Robin, with the same excited look, added, "And he makes sweet potatoes, homemade cranberry sauce, sausage, rolls, stuffing, pumpkin pie, cherry pie, pecan pie." Her voice trailed off, lost in her food daydream. "But why can't he cook it all at my house? He's cooked there before." "Because you don't have a smoker and Daddy's is too big to take with us." "Then show me this amazing smoker of your father's." They led me outside to where Don had a small area with a wooden fence. I looked at the smoker. It didn't seem like much. It was big, but I could easily afford one. "That looks like an oil drum used as a grill. Can it work as a grill, too?" "Daddy uses it that way all the time," Robin replied. Well, that settled it. Don had been saying my gas grill at home wasn't good enough. I had an expensive stainless steel gas grill, and he always complained. I decided to buy one of these smokers and end that talk. Then my girls and I could go skiing over Thanksgiving. "Don, I need to talk to you." "Yes, Maria," he said quietly, looking at me in surprise. I must have sounded quite serious. "We are all going to have Thanksgiving at my house. Robin and Megan are going skiing. They told me that for you to cook Thanksgiving dinner, we need a smoker. Where can I get one?" "Any big home store carries that kind, and you can order it online, but let's go to the computer, girls." Megan and Robin followed me to Don's office, and Megan helped me log in using her password. Don came in after us. It was simple. I searched for a nearby home improvement store, found the brand, and there it was. It was a good price. The website even showed a list of extras I could buy. "Don, is this your smoker?" "Yes, but..." I clicked on it. "They have a list of extras. Do you have a chimney?" "Yes, but I already have 2. I added 3 to my cart." "What about a charcoal basket?" "Yes, but Maria..." I selected 3. I noticed many types of tongs available. I didn't even ask Don. I just bought the items that seemed the most useful, along with some gloves. "What about a wireless thermometer?" Don didn't reply. He just stared at the ceiling. "Don? You don't have to spend all this money, Maria." "Don, I am not buying this for you. I am buying this for my home, okay?" He still didn't look convinced, but Megan stepped in to help. "Daddy loves those thermometers and has 2. He says if he didn't have them, he would have to sit outside with the smoker all day." They had 2 different brands of wireless thermometers, so I bought 2 of each, plus a couple of regular thermometers too. I read a list of available accessories to Megan. She said no to most, but a few got a yes. When it was time to choose the delivery option, I was asked, "Do you want the smoker assembled?" That was a silly question. Of course, I wanted it assembled. So for a little over $500, I prepared for Thanksgiving with my girls and Don. It felt like a good deal. I sat back in Don's office chair feeling satisfied. This chair seemed a bit wobbly. I would need to get him a new one sometime. I looked at Don. He had a tired expression on his face. He needed to understand who was in charge. "Maria, I need to season the smoker before Thanksgiving. Cleaning and preparing it takes all day." "How?" I interrupted. "No problem. We just need to go up the weekend before Thanksgiving, too." That made Megan and Robin excited. I was happy. "But this weekend, I've got to take them shopping for ski gear." "Maria." I gave him a look that said he was pushing it. He wisely stopped talking. So that weekend, I took Megan and Robin shopping. We had a great time. Luckily, I had a big car because we filled it completely. We returned home to a fantastic meal. Don had even made a pie. Megan, Robin, and I enjoyed one of our best movie nights ever. Don kept coming out, pretending to be the annoyed dad because of all the noise. "I can't sleep, blah, blah, blah." He enjoyed playing that role. He knew that making his girls feel a little mischievous added fun to the night. He would stomp back to his bedroom and we would share playful looks. It was great that the weekend was so nice because Monday was difficult. Richard called me to his office. He finally had the full report on Don. A company with connections to the DOD had even involved the FBI. I was shocked. That felt like a big invasion of Don's privacy. Richard said not to worry because that company, after checking Don's resume and the preliminary report, really wanted to hire him. If the economy were better, they would have already made an offer. I read the report twice, and it took me 2 whole days. When the private investigators talked to Don's old friends and family for information about him, they all had good things to say, even his ex-wife and sisters. It felt like they were being very honest. They realized they had made mistakes in the past and wanted to help Don find a better job. The only one who spoke poorly of him was his former boss. Everyone else, including the CEO and the former president of his last company, had nice things to say. The FBI got involved with the judge who handled Don's divorce, asking her about her decisions on dividing assets. They wanted to know about the evidence she had used. She replied that if Don was innocent, he could have appealed her decision. They pointed out how costly and time-consuming that would be. She ended the conversation abruptly and hasn't spoken with anyone since. Don is a good person. However, because of my past, I worried that starting a romantic relationship with him could be risky. I decided it was time to talk to Vanessa, Kathy, and Freddie again. Revisiting the idea we had talked about before seemed important. I really liked Don, and we were slowly building something special, but I realized our future depended a lot on whether he would change. I called my friends to share my worries. Then, I asked Richard to make a copy of the report and send it to them. They would need time to look it over, and I only had until Thursday to discuss everything with them before going to the mountains with Don and my girls. On Wednesday, I told Don and my daughters that my friends might join us for some weekends. Robin and Megan seemed excited about it, but I felt a little let down. I worried that I might not be enough to have fun. Don said that whatever made me happy made him happy too, which was sweet, but I still wondered how he would feel if he learned about my past. On Thursday, I met my friends at my place, wondering if they noticed the same things in the report that worried me. Most of the important information seemed to come from interviews with Don's sisters, though some came from his ex-wife. Freddie was the first to speak. Can you believe it? Don has never dated anyone but his ex-wife his whole life? Kathy and Vanessa were just as surprised. They understood my concerns. I had a lively social life in the past, and after my divorce, I briefly returned to that scene. My friends knew about it, and if Don and I became serious, he would eventually find out too. I felt the weight of my experiences compared to his sheltered background, according to his sisters. If I were to get close to him, it could feel like someone very experienced being with someone who wasn't as much. His wife chose to be with others instead of building a life with him. This likely made him feel abandoned and hurt his confidence quite a bit. He might find it hard to be confident in a relationship with me. If we started dating and he learned about my past, it could complicate things. I really liked him. He seemed like someone I could see myself with long-term, but with our different backgrounds, there might be too many feelings to sort through. His lack of confidence might be why he hadn't approached me yet. I was a successful former model, and he was an ordinary guy who had gone through a rough patch with his ex-wife. I felt a bit bad for examining him so closely. I thought about making the first move, but I worried it would be too much for him. He had a nice build, not quite model level, but still impressive. I wondered if he would truly want to be with me or if he would just be settling. He hadn't dated anyone else recently, so he might not have a clear view. When I talked to my 3 friends about it, I opened up about my feelings. When I first met Don, I thought he needed a little work to shine. But the more I got to know him, the more I liked him and his daughters. Still, his self-esteem seems really low. I feel like we are different, and I'm not sure what to do. I could use some help. Kathy, wearing her glasses, became serious. With her background in psychology, she offered some advice. We need to focus on helping Don rebuild his confidence. We can't change what has happened, but we can control what's next. She added, starting with small, positive changes can really help. Improving his looks and health can boost how he feels. If he feels better, it might help him connect better with others. Let's think about getting him started on an exercise plan. Seeing progress might inspire him. Maybe we could also look at some of his old photos to see what changes he might want. Kathy was really focusing on how to support Don in a positive way. I got the pictures. Freddie made a few comments, but Kathy and Vanessa stayed calm. Vanessa asked, "How did he get the scars on his back?" Freddie replied, "Didn't you read that? About 5 years ago, someone was chasing his girlfriend with a garden rake. Don stepped in to protect her and got hurt. Just like Don, always trying to be the hero. Vanessa said, "Oh, wow, I missed that. But really, let's be honest. He has strong leg muscles, a solid back, and powerful arms, but his torso could use some improvement. I know he is very strong, but his chest and stomach don't stand out much. With the right exercises, we could make that better. I doubt he has ever had a personal trainer, so let's get one for him. Since I work as a trainer at my gym, I believe I can help him. We might also need to tweak some of the carbs in his diet. As for his hair, there must be better options. Anything would look nice compared to what he has now, even just a simple haircut." We all agreed. Kathy spoke again. "I'm not talking about romance, but what other skills should a refined gentleman have?" We discussed Kathy's question and made a list. First was being a good dancer. From chatting with his sisters and ex-wife, we learned that Don wanted to take dance lessons with Barbara, but she always said no, so we assumed Don wasn't a good dancer. It looks like I would have to teach him. Second was being able to fix a car. We laughed about that one, thinking Don could probably fix a big airplane. Third was cooking a nice meal. Well, we could skip that. Fourth was being able to lift heavy things. Vanessa mentioned how Don easily picked up a heavy snowblower, so we figured we could skip this as well. Fifth was being willing to stand up for himself or others. I shared that one of Don's tenants is giving him self-defense lessons in exchange for using his home gym, so that was covered. Sixth was not being a bully. Don being a bully? No way. Seventh was being handy with tools. Well, we could skip that too. Eighth was having a good income. As far as we know, he makes around $80,000 a year, which seems fine. Ninth was being financially stable. Don has over $2 million in assets. That feels secure enough. 10th was being smart. He has a college degree and knows how to handle basic household tasks, so he checks that box too. 11th was being a good listener and communicator. This led to a debate among Kathy, Freddie, and me. Freddie and I thought Don communicated well, but Kathy disagreed. Nope, if Don were a really good listener, he wouldn't have been so easily misled by his ex-wife, and he would know how you really feel about him too, Maria. I think this will always be a bit of a challenge for him. It isn't that Don doesn't understand what people say. He often misses the unspoken parts of conversations, especially with women. This shouldn't be a deal-breaker, but I think we can help him become more aware. To educate Don in communication, I think we should take him on practice outings. Freddie said, "Yeah, I'm ready to practice with Don." Kathy gave Freddie a stern look. This may be a bit off topic, but I mean romantic practice, not anything inappropriate. I'm talking about nice evenings that include gentle gestures of affection without going too far. During those times, he should talk to other people. This way, whoever is with him can talk about that conversation later to see what he noticed and what he might have missed. This could help us work on his observation skills and build his confidence. We all have events where it would be nice to have a date. I suggest we take Don to some of these events to give him some experience, just like Maria mentioned. When we think Don is ready, we can help him meet others who may be interested in him. "Hey, I'm not sure I like that," Maria said. "Maria, Don needs to build his confidence. I don't think that will happen with any of us here. I'm not saying he will pursue anything serious. I'm just saying we can help make it more likely. As for guidance, I have some resources I can share with Don when the time is right." We returned to discussing the list. The 12th item was to be kind. It seemed that Don might be a bit too kind. The 13th item was knowing how to ride a horse. Kathy thought that was silly, but the rest of us disagreed. What good is a cowboy or knight without a horse? I volunteered to teach Don. The 14th item was about dressing well. Don didn't dress badly, but he could improve. Vanessa and I decided to work on that together. Vanessa spoke up. "I want to be clear. Why are we doing all this? I think I know, but I want to hear it." Kathy replied, "I believe I speak for all of us. First, we like Don, and he has been treated unfairly. Second, we care about Megan and Robin. Third, we want to support Maria, who seems interested in Don. Lastly, and most importantly, that report was a serious invasion of Don's privacy. By reading it and not objecting, we are part of that. We also now know that Don might struggle with romantic relationships, so we have a responsibility to help him if he's willing to accept it. And fifth, I think it will be fun, like a scene from My Fair Lady, but with a guy." As I said this, Kathy took off her glasses and smiled widely. We all laughed as she stood up. I declare the start of the Polishing Dawn Association. I nominate Maria for president. Vanessa will lead the physical education team. Freddie will be our comic relief. Freddie playfully stuck her tongue out at Kathy, who smiled back. And I'll handle the planning. I also suggest that in the future we bring in Megan and Robin as junior members. All in favor say aye. We were sitting around my dining room table talking about things. In the middle, there was a vegetable party tray. Instead of saying aye, we tossed vegetables at Kathy. It was all in fun and meant the same. Kathy caught a few vegetables and said, I also think Dawn should prepare the food for our future meeting since Maria's cooking isn't the best. Everyone else agreed, but I chimed in, hey, let them make their own snacks from now on. I was unsure about going along with Kathy's plan. Some parts made sense, but the idea of Don going on real dates bothered me. He was such a great guy, kind and honorable. I worried that someone might enter his life and change him in a big way. I even thought about how Barbara had done that with him before. She had made him shine, and part of me wished he would notice me. Then, I felt a wave of worry because I realized he might never see me the same way if he found out about my past. What was I going to do? We all agreed that we shouldn't keep the PDA a secret from Don. We decided to tell him about the report, too. Kathy was sure she could explain it in a way that would keep Don calm. Morally, we didn't feel right hiding things from him, even if it was for his benefit. However, we thought it might be better if he didn't know everything, especially about the ideas Kathy had for helping him with his communication skills. We planned to wait until Thanksgiving weekend to share the news with Don. When I mentioned Thanksgiving dinner, everyone got excited, even Freddie. They would come up the weekend before Thanksgiving, too. I made it clear that I had promised Megan and Robin I would ride with them in Don's car. My friends suggested the girls should go with me while they rode with Don. We all gathered at Don's apartment for our weekend trip. I let Vanessa drive my new SUV while I got in his car. I felt a bit down at first. We couldn't find the Yahtzee game. Don insisted it was under the seat, but after looking for 10 minutes, we gave up. The girls and I decided to practice our music skills instead. During the drive, their dad played either the Beatles or Queen, which was fine with me. Don seemed to enjoy it a lot. It was the best long car ride I've ever had. Maria danced and sang to the Beatles in her seat, which lifted my spirits. After a while, I switched to a jazz CD, and when we finally reached Maria's home, I was glad to get out of the car. I brought the usual desserts. I baked everything at home because I knew I wouldn't have time to do it during the weekend. I brought 2 pies, 1 cake, and a lot of cookies. This time, I made cookies with white chocolate and macadamia nuts. Kathy and Freddie's faces lit up when they saw them. After dinner on Friday, which was grilled salmon, they sat right across from me at the table. They eagerly reached for the cookies, and I could feel my cheeks get warm. It was funny to see their excitement. Luckily, my daughters were at the sink washing dishes. Vanessa was sitting there looking back and forth between me and Kathy and Freddie with a smile. Soon, Maria, who was cleaning up in the kitchen, noticed them. She returned to the table and said, Megan and Robin will see you two, so stop, or I will put the pie away. They quickly got up, playfully complaining, You're no fun! Once Maria had her back turned, Vanessa leaned over to whisper in my ear, If you think this is fun, wait until I show you what I can do with the pie tonight. Her playful breath made me need a moment to gather myself. Another movie night was planned for them. I decided to go to bed early to avoid any surprises. I put an old movie in the DVD player in my room and then got into bed. A little while later, Megan and Robin came upstairs to check on me. They were curious about why I went to bed so early. Dad, are you okay? You went to bed real early, Megan asked. I'm fine, just a bit tired. It was good they came up when they did. I had almost taken a moment for myself. 5 minutes longer, and it could have been a bit awkward. I could imagine my girls asking from outside the bathroom door, Daddy, what are you doing in there? Robin looked at the movie playing. Dad, are you watching that houseboat movie again? Aren't you tired of it? Megan quickly pulled her away, telling her to be quiet. I heard bits of their whispered talk. It was my turn to feel kind of shy. Robin, don't you think that actress Lauren looks a bit like Maria? Robin turned to me with big eyes. I wanted to hide under the blankets. That was not something dads were supposed to do. They came back to me with sweet smiles. They patted my blankets and gave me friendly kisses on the cheek, tucking me in bed. They told me they loved me and then left. After my door closed, I heard giggles in the hallway. The awkwardness I had felt earlier had faded away, but I still felt a bit shy. I got up early the next day and used the snowblower to clear the driveway. Carl had fixed the tractor, but I didn't know how to use it, and I thought the blower was safer. Being outside in the fresh air with a power tool made me feel better and more in control. I prepared a big lunch of hamburgers, grilled cheese sandwiches, and French fries for everyone before they went skiing. I started cleaning and preparing the smoker. The coating on it was hard to remove. After 3 hours of work, I felt it was clean enough and began the curing process. I was still doing that when everyone came back. They looked tired but happy as they walked in with bright red cheeks. I had hot chocolate and cookies ready for them to enjoy and warm up. Once they cleaned up, I got started on dinner. I decided to cook a Korean pork meal for them since I had spent the day outside working. I prepared almost 7 pounds of pork, and they liked it a lot. It was too bad about all the grease left. If it had been earlier, I could have used it for the smoker. For Freddie, I cooked some shrimp and small pieces of squid, making sure to keep the pork separate. She mixed up her own dipping sauce with cocktail sauce, hot sauce, and horseradish, and she seemed to really enjoy it. I went to bed early again for the same reasons as before. That night, I watched a John Wayne movie. The next day, I made our usual Sunday breakfast. Later, I almost had a little accident. Maria was about to ride home with her friends because they were in a hurry, but I found the Yahtzee game in the spare tire space of my car. I was curious how it got there. Shake it, baby, now. That Monday, I went to see Dr. Huff as usual. I told her about my weekend with Kathy and Freddie enjoying the cookies and my kids reacting to the John Wayne movie. She laughed at my stories. It was a loud, hearty laugh that filled the room. Every time she paused, she would glance at me and burst out laughing again. It felt like such a letdown. I'm not so sure about my friends. I have a feeling they all start to picture themselves sharing a wedding day with Don. The afternoon before Thanksgiving, we all drove to my home. I was stuck using my own car because Don's was full of food. On Thursday morning, he woke up really early to begin cooking. I walked outside a few times to see how things were going. Don had his smoker set up in the outdoor kitchen area where I keep my gas barbecue. He had a green tarp covering the smoker. "Don, is that thing going to be okay?" "It's just a welding blanket I use on cold days to keep the temperature up in the smoker. It might get a little scorched if I'm not careful, but it won't catch fire." After several hours, he came in with the finished turkey, and it smelled amazing. He made us wait a bit for it to soak up its juices. I had to admit the smell was really tempting, but when we finally tasted it, I found out that his daughters had been mistaken. The turkey was even better than everyone had said. Don had picked out the biggest turkey I had ever seen, and I worried it wouldn't be large enough. He also brought 4 live lobsters in a special box he made from a cooler and parts of an old aquarium, just for Freddie. While she enjoyed the first 2 lobsters, she watched with wonder as we relished the turkey. I think it was the first time I noticed her feeling a bit left out as a vegetarian. The other dishes Don prepared were just as delicious. Barbara had made a mistake in her choices. She must be a little out of her mind. Don had worked very hard, and he still needed to clean the smoker, so the girls and I cleaned the table and kitchen. Even though we were full, we kept sneaking bites of turkey. We didn't want to waste even the smallest piece. If there was a little bit left on a plate, we finished it. It was just too tasty. It felt wrong to throw any of it away. We were ready to thank Don for his wonderful meal. Instead, we slowly made our way to the movie room and dozed off for a couple of hours. When Don found us resting there, he gently woke us up and served each of us a slice of pumpkin pie and a slice of pecan pie. Then he headed to bed. It had been a long day for him. I would have worried about my friends wandering off, but we were all too full and sleepy. For the rest of the night, we only woke up to start a new movie. At dawn, we all got up to head to our rooms and sleep again. I woke up around noon feeling great. I showered and went downstairs only to find that all the girls had the same idea. We had leftover turkey for lunch, and it was just as yummy as before. Sadly, there seemed to be just enough for one more meal. Don asked if we wanted something else for dinner, but we all said no. We wanted more turkey, except for Freddie, who was hoping for another lobster. When he went to check, Don was pleased that his cooler had worked well, and the last 2 lobsters were still alive. Freddie had one of them for lunch. That afternoon, we were set to talk with Don. Vanessa and Freddie kept Megan and Robin busy while Kathy and I nervously prepared to share our report on Don. "Don, can you come with Kathy and me into my den?" I asked. "Sure. What's going on?" he replied as he followed us inside. "Don, do you remember when you cut down that tree without asking me and then you apologized?" "Of course I remember." "Well, Don, this time I need to say sorry, but I'm not very good at it. I'm really, really sorry." I gestured for Kathy to explain, hoping she would do better. "If you want to share your feelings later, that's fine. I was just hoping he wouldn't get so upset that he would leave with my friends. What if I never saw them again?" Kathy began to speak. "Don, when you first met Maria and helped her, it was a kind thing to do. At that time, your daughters told Maria an odd story about your divorce. It sounded unbelievable, like something from a TV drama. Maria had just come out of a tough relationship, so she was unsure about getting close to you and your children. After hearing that strange story, she decided to check on you. She reached out to her ex-husband, who thinks highly of her. She told him about her past, the incident, your help, and the story of your divorce. He helped her find a private investigator who confirmed much of what she had heard. Even though he and Maria are no longer together, he still values their friendship. Unhappy with the findings, he arranged a more thorough investigation. The person who contacted you for permission to look into your background was sent by Richard, her ex. That felt like a breach of your privacy. What's more troubling is that Maria suspected something was happening but didn't stop it. She already had enough information, but her curiosity got the best of her. She liked you and your kids and wanted to know everything. About 10 days ago, the final report came in. She was upset to see the hurt you faced confirmed. Seeking advice, she asked Vanessa, Freddie, and me to look at the report too. We should have refused, but we were curious. We all feel terrible about it. It's worse because we knew we were making a mistake. We can only ask for your forgiveness." I sat at my desk, filled with guilt and worry. When Kathy finished speaking, I nodded in agreement with her apology. After a moment, Don replied with a deep sigh and a sad look. "Kathy, Maria, I don't care about the investigation. Yes, it was an invasion of my privacy. The methods used were questionable, but I never thought anything good would come of it, so it doesn't really bother me." He sighed again, his sadness showing despite his effort to hide it. "Many people would be upset about this, but I don't feel angry at all. Since you came into my life, Maria, I've been having a joyful time, the best time I can remember. I don't mind a background check. I can understand someone like Richard wanting to protect you. You have a lot at stake, and after what you went through, it makes sense. I'm really not surprised, so don't worry about it. However, regarding the files, I'd prefer if you got rid of them. They hold too many painful memories for me. I don't want to think about those moments or feel upset about my past. I already spend too much time frustrated, so please handle things for me. About your apology, I accept it. Let's move on like this never happened, okay?" Don tried to smile at us, but sadness was still in his eyes, making me feel sorry for him. Kathy looked shaken by his look. I felt like I had let him down, and I needed to fix it. "Oh, Don, I'm so grateful you can forgive us. We were really worried, and it felt awful. This is such a relief," Kathy said, though her voice sounded a bit shaky. Don then switched topics. "I'm going to find Megan and Robin." It looked like perfect weather for making a snowman outside, and I wanted to see if they were interested. I would have loved to build a snowman with them, but Kathy grabbed my arm and stopped me from going after Don. Kathy said, "You stay here. I need to get Vanessa and Freddie. We have to talk." She hurried out, and I sank into my chair. Even though Don had been kind, it was clear that Kathy felt things hadn't gone well, and I worried it was because of me. They all returned to my office to find me with my head resting on my desk, worried about what Kathy would say. "What happened? Don seemed fine when he went outside with his kids," Freddie asked. Kathy started to explain. "I talked to Don about the investigation. He doesn't seem too upset about his privacy being invaded, but I think it really hurts him that it was us who did it. We might be the first adults he has learned to trust since his divorce. He probably misses having friends. We know about his old friends and family, and now, as his new friends, we let him down. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. Don't worry. I think we can fix this. One good thing is that we didn't try to hide our mistake from him. In the end, that's important. To make things right, we need to stop taking his kindness for granted. We enjoy spending time with him, joke around, but we mostly hang out with his kids. Instead of overwhelming him at once, we should include him in what we do. He might be unsure about some plans, but we should still try to get him involved, even if it takes a little push. Let's face it, we're all friendly women, and most guys would appreciate it when we invite them along. Tonight, instead of just watching movies, let's go to the game room and bring Don with us. We could also start dance lessons tonight. I don't think Megan or Robin know how to dance either. It would be fun for us all to teach each other. Tomorrow, Don can join us for skiing, or we can stay home together. If needed, we can find someone to help him learn. He shouldn't be alone at home. We need to show him that we truly care for him and enjoy being with him all the time, not just during meals. Also, while it's fine to joke and tease him, we should have real conversations too. Vanessa, you've been using Maria's home gym. Take Don with you next time and share some tips. Freddie, besides that artwork Maria likes, there are some other nice pieces here. I think Richard picked them out. I felt too upset to argue about that as Kathy kept talking. I've seen Don looking at the art. You're an artist, so talk to him about it. We've pretended to be his friends. Now let's actually be friends. The guy has a kind heart. It's time to support him. We'll start lifting his spirits today, but we don't need to share our plan just yet. It's obvious to anyone what's happening. Friends help each other through tough times. That's what friends are for. We all agreed with Kathy's plan. Freddie ran out excitedly. As the rest of us walked out more slowly, she was already rushing down the stairs in her winter clothes. "I think we should have a snowball fight," she yelled. We chased after her. It was easy to get Megan and Robin involved, but Don seemed a bit down. Finally, Vanessa playfully tackled him, and Freddie tossed some snow his way. That seemed to wake him up just a bit, but he still looked tired. I stayed close to Don during most of the fight. I couldn't bring myself to throw a snowball at him. I felt like I had to stand by him, and he didn't throw any snow at Kathy or me either. He finally slipped and fell after getting hit in the face by Robin. I found myself diving on top of him. I didn't just fall. I meant to land over him almost like a shield. It wasn't a planned choice, it just happened. When I landed, I wrapped my arms around him, trying to offer him warmth and comfort. Unfortunately, our bulky clothes made it hard for him to feel what I was trying to do. Robin and Megan rushed over. Robin looked worried and asked, "Dad, are you okay?" Don made a loud snoring sound, pretending to be asleep. I followed his lead, but added a softer snore. I was too shy to think of anything else while lying on him. That was a mistake. Robin playfully threw some snow down my coat. I let out a surprised laugh, which made all the girls giggle, and it also got some hearty laughs from Don. That moment broke the tension and lifted Don's spirits. The unexpected chilly surprise was totally worth it. I chuckled to myself, thinking I would get back at Robin playfully one day. We spent the afternoon making snowmen and forts and having fun with snowball fights. It was a silly day, but we all enjoyed it. Don's eyes still needed some sparkle, but they were getting brighter. Freddie went away for a bit and returned with a tray full of mugs of hot chocolate and some of Don's cookies. I silently thanked her. Don had been waiting on us long enough. It was nice of him, but it was time for us to take care of him for a change. At dinner, we finished the last of the turkey. Can you believe it? A 22-pound turkey, all gone in 3 meals. Before dinner, we told Megan and Robin about our plan to convince Don to go skiing with us. They both liked the idea. It would be easy. We just needed to encourage Don. "Don, tomorrow you're coming skiing with us," I told him. "Maria, I've never skied before. Honestly, I would probably get hurt and cause problems on the slopes." "Well, that changes my plan since I was looking forward to skiing tomorrow," Megan said. Don looked puzzled. "You all can still go. I'll just stay here." "No, Daddy, we all decided. We either all go together or all stay home together," Robin insisted. I liked how she said stay home when talking about my place. "But, Don, you have a choice. Go skiing or let your daughters down," I told him. Megan and Robin exchanged encouraging glances, but I don't have any gear or ski clothes. Don, let me handle that. Will you join us, or do we all stay home? Okay, I give in. I guess I'll give skiing a try after all. That evening, we played ping pong, pool, and air hockey. Don wasn't the best at any game except for pool. The fun really picked up when we all headed to my dance studio. The only issue was figuring out who would dance with whom. We settled it in a way I didn't prefer, but it was the most fair. Vanessa, the best dancer after me, would dance with Don, Kathy with Robin, and Freddie with Megan. I would be the teacher. No one seemed to listen to me. I wanted to join in too, but had to act like a strict instructor. I danced the lead and showed a step with Vanessa. They struggled to keep track of the steps and remember their foot positions. My goal for the night was simple, to help them remember just 2 steps. Not 3 or 4, just 2. Robin was surprisingly the best dancer among them, while Megan and Don were both new to it. I wondered if I could teach Don to dance at all. He put too much force into every move. Instead of leading, he seemed to pull his partner along. I needed to figure out how to help him without upsetting anyone. At the end of the day, I played some lively music on the CD player. Don tried to step back and sit out, but I encouraged him to join. Then he tried to stand still, but I wouldn't let him. I gave him my best, "don't make me mad" look and showed him a few dance moves that matched the music. He seemed to do better with the real tunes than just counting beats. I would remember that for next time. After dancing, we were all tired, so Don went to his room, and the girls and I decided to watch a movie. It was a tradition we didn't want to miss. I had a big slice of pecan pie to enjoy since we didn't have cake. I decided to forgive Don. The next day, Don woke up early and made breakfast. I called the lodge ski shop to make some special arrangements. Equipment at ski resorts is usually more expensive than in town because they need to make money during the season. I asked them to give Don a higher price when we arrived. I planned to pay with my credit card so he wouldn't know. If he found out how much things cost, he might get upset, but I believe in buying good quality gear. I wanted something that would keep us safe on the slopes. Don had some warm brown coveralls in his SUV and wanted to wear those for skiing. I wanted to take him to the shop before the others started skiing, but they wanted to share their opinions about Don's clothing and gear. I felt annoyed because I wanted him to choose what I suggested. It was nice that Freddie and the girls were there. Freddie was skilled at skiing and had even competed, so she helped pick the best gear for Don. I made sure that my friends and I chose the colors. Nobody else would decide what Don wore. I had arranged for a special instructor named Bill, an older gentleman who worked at the lodge but was not employed by them. He was great for teaching beginners and had previously been a banker. Bill worked with Don for 2 hours, and then we made sure he took a break. It's important to rest while learning a new skill. Vanessa took over his instruction for the next 2 hours. I was a good skier too, but Vanessa explained things better. After another break, Freddie taught Don for 2 more hours, and by the end of the day, he was skiing down some easier slopes. I had a storage locker at the lodge for my ski equipment, so we all put our skis there. Instead of heading back to the city the next day, we decided to ski a bit more. Freddie reminded us that we didn't want Don to forget the things he had learned. Once we arrived back home, we enjoyed some of Don's delicious cookies and then went upstairs to take showers and cool off. An hour later, everyone was back downstairs except for Don. Robin went upstairs to check on him and found him asleep in his ski clothes. She gently woke him up and encouraged him to take a shower. When she returned downstairs, she had a big smile on her face and seemed really happy with what had happened. I went upstairs and saw him sprawled on the bed, still in his ski pants. I tried to wake him, but he just kept sleeping. I pinched his nose, and all he did was open his mouth to breathe. Then I took off his socks and tickled his feet, but he just pulled his foot away. Finally, I got a bit frustrated. I grabbed his toe and gently nipped it. He jumped up and shouted, "Whoa, toe!" and rolled off the bed. I think I might be in trouble for a month. We tried to stay serious while she spoke, but when she finished, we all burst out laughing, and Robin looked like she had accomplished something big. While Don showered, Freddie and I started getting dinner ready. Don had brought a big cooler full of Dungeness crab this time. We cooked them and served them with baked potatoes and asparagus, which some enjoyed while others didn't. After dinner, we had fun watching TV and playing video games. I was getting better at the games and managed to win against Robin a couple of times, but Kathy was still the best. That evening, we resumed dance lessons. Instead of just counting steps, I tried to teach Don with real music. I played Moon River and guided him through a few steps. Then Don shared something special with me. He said, "This was always one of my parents' favorite songs. It makes me feel both happy and sad when I hear it. Happy for the good memories and sad that they are gone." So he chose to share something so deep while I was trying to teach him. I gave him a gentle hug, and the waltz I was teaching him turned into a simple, heartfelt dance that many couples enjoy. I thought to myself that if he surprised me again, I might playfully tease him about it. I paired Vanessa back with Don for the rest of the lesson. I wasn't going to let him distract me anymore, as I needed to change the music. What was he thinking, getting all sentimental while others were around? Didn't he understand the moment? Oh, why does he have to be so thoughtful? After the lesson, we followed our usual routine. Don went to bed and the rest of us settled in to watch a movie. We skied for almost 4 hours the next day. At first, Don seemed to have forgotten everything he learned on Saturday, but by the end of the second hour, he was doing much better. With a few more weekends of skiing together, I wouldn't have to worry as much about him getting hurt, as long as we stayed away from the tougher slopes. Overall, it was a nice weekend. The turkey turned out really well. Sometimes things don't go perfectly, but this time it was just right. I felt hurt by the surprise that Maria and Kathy planned regarding their check on me. Are all women that curious? I planned to discuss it with Dr. Huff this Monday evening. Learning to dance and ski was enjoyable. Maria is determined to turn me into a decent ballroom dancer in 6 months. Holding lovely partners like Maria in my arms for that time sounds tempting. I received some good news at home about my stock investment. It had risen from $3, $42 a share to $5, $60. I always knew the stock was undervalued. It seemed others figured it out too. Then I had my therapy session, where Dr. Huff and I discussed my privacy concerns. She agreed that what the ladies did was upsetting, but noted that they seemed genuinely sorry and cared about me. She even suggested they might have feelings for me. I disagreed, thinking they were much too wonderful for me. Dr. Huff also mentioned she wished she had seen the report before it was destroyed. It might have helped with my therapy. I realized she had a point. On Wednesday, Maria came by as usual, and I decided to share what I was going through. "Maria, I've been attending therapy every Monday evening to help with my anger. I mentioned the investigation you did on me." Maria's face lost some color. "The therapist helped me understand things better, and I think I can handle it now." Maria let out a sigh of relief. However, she was interested in reading the report for my therapy. "I know you destroyed your copies as I asked, but could you possibly call her? She has a few questions that might help me." "Don, I would be happy to help. I'm really glad you're in therapy, and I agree that the report might help her understand what happened and support you in managing your feelings. I'll definitely give her a call." "Don, I have to tell you something straightforward. While we got rid of most copies, a few might still be out there. The job agency and potential employers still probably have some. I know you think finding a job is hard, but now that some companies know the real reason you left your last job, there's a good chance you'll start getting job offers, especially when the economy gets better. One company is really interested in you. Since they still have the report, I can probably get a copy sent to your therapist. Is that all right?" "That would be fine, Maria. I figured there were probably more copies somewhere. I just didn't think you could get another one so easily, and I didn't want to ask you after telling you to burn them all." "No worries, I'm happy to help. I'm just glad you're not upset with me anymore." Maria smiled brightly, lighting up the room. The next month was busy. Megan, Robin, and I were all getting over a cold the first week of December. I don't like to spread sickness, so I told Maria not to come by for our therapy appointment that night. Did she listen? Not at all. On Tuesday morning, Megan and Robin both called from school saying they weren't feeling well. We must have caught something on our way back from Maria's, or maybe at the store we visited, because I was feeling tired too. I decided to pick them up from school and took the rest of the day off. I let Barbara know, and she agreed the kids could stay with me. Then, I called Maria to let her know that Wednesday night was probably off. When I got home from work Wednesday, feeling under the weather, I found Maria already there caring for Megan and Robin. She had made homemade chicken soup, had a bunch of cold medicine on the counter, and was helping the girls catch up on their homework since they had fallen a bit behind. Maria really saved the day. She even helped the girls feel better. They were uncomfortable, so she changed their sheets and got them into fresh pajamas. It was exhausting for all of us. Maria stayed at my place again on Thursday to look after Megan and Robin. On Thursday night, after seeing how much better the girls were, she went back to her condo. On Friday, Maria didn't answer my calls, and I started to worry. I figured she might be sick and needing help. I left work early, picked up Megan and Robin, and drove to Maria's condo after grabbing some supplies. When we reached the security desk at her condo with overnight bags and a pot of chicken soup, Megan and Robin anxiously explained our concern to the guard. I had never been inside Maria's condo, but my daughters, Megan and Robin, had visited it during a shopping trip with her. The security officer tried to call Maria, but there was no answer. He went to check her parking space and saw her car was still there. Reluctantly, he decided to go to her condo and check if Maria was okay. My daughters followed him, and I carried a pot of chicken soup after them. When he knocked on the door, Maria still did not reply. Encouraged by Megan, he unlocked the door. As soon as it opened a little, Robin slipped past him inside. He called out to her, but she didn't stop. "That's my girl!" He was left standing there, unsure of what to do next. Should he go after Robin? I thought it was best to distract him so Megan could get in. A pot of hot chicken soup pressed against someone's back can be quite effective. With two of us inside Maria's condo, we were making good progress on our mission to check on her. I apologized for the soup's heat and waited for news. Robin came rushing back. "Daddy, Maria's really sick, just like we were. She didn't want to call anyone for help and couldn't get out of bed to answer the door." Hearing that Maria was very sick, I quickly went into her condo with Robin leading the way. I followed the sound of coughing until I reached Maria's bedroom. I hesitated for a moment before entering uninvited. "What's going on, Maria? Are you okay?" I asked. Maria and my girls looked at me in surprise, so there I was, kneeling by her bed, wearing oven mitts and holding a big pot of soup. I decided to ask the most sensible question. "Are you hungry?" Maria looked at me, surprised, but managed a small smile. "No," she coughed softly. I think the guard left around that time. "What are you doing here?" Maria asked. Robin had a simple response. "You took care of us, so now we're going to take care of you. We love you, Maria." I wish I had the courage to say that. Maria's face lit up at the sight of the girls, and she opened her arms wide. Megan and Robin hugged her tightly, creating a touching moment, despite Maria's cough. I quietly left to find the kitchen and put the soup down. My daughters worked hard to care for Maria with all the dedication of true caretakers. I felt more like a helper than anything else. Maria didn't want a bath? That didn't matter. Megan and Robin gave her one anyway. Maria didn't want her sheets changed? That didn't stop them. Maria wasn't hungry? Eventually, Megan and Robin sat by her side, giving her their best pleading looks, and she finally had some soup and crackers. Maria was lucky she chose to eat when she did, or they might have turned it into a fun game to make her smile. I had a busy but rewarding 2 days looking after Megan, Robin, and Dawn. By Thursday night, I started feeling a bit sick myself, so I decided to go home. I could tell I was catching what they had, and I didn't want them to see me like that. By Friday afternoon, I felt really unwell and lonely. Even the time spent with Megan and Robin had been enjoyable because I liked their company. I felt sorry for myself. Even though Dawn, Megan, and Robin were calling and leaving messages, I didn't want them to know I was sick. That might make them feel bad and want to come over, which I wanted to avoid. I held back tears because I wished for a real family. The buzzer on my security panel had been buzzing for a while. I didn't know who it was, but I felt too tired to get out of bed and answer. Wait, is someone opening my door? I had to find enough strength to get up and hit the panic button. I heard a man's voice say, "Hey!" Then Robin shouted, "Maria, are you okay? Maria?" She rushed into my room. "Maria, are you okay? We were so worried. You didn't answer your phone. You're sick now too, aren't you?" "I'm fine, sweetheart." I paused to cough. "What are you doing here? Now Megan was coming in. You didn't answer your phone, so we got worried. Daddy got off work early because he thought you might be getting sick like us, and it's so bad. I'm sorry we got you sick, Maria, especially after you took care of us," Megan said. "Robin, go get Daddy, okay?" Robin ran off while Megan went to my bathroom to look for something. Don came into the room with a big pot of chicken soup. It was the first time he entered my bedroom, and I was feeling unwell. "Maria, are you okay? Did Don just call me honey? Maybe I was sicker than I thought. But if he did, and I think he did, I found it quite nice." "Are you hungry?" he asked. Even feeling sick, it was hard not to laugh. "No," I coughed out. "What are you doing here?" Then Robin said something that made my heart feel warm. "You took care of us. Now we are going to take care of you. We love you, Maria." It got even better. Megan and Don both smiled and nodded at what Robin said. I raised my arms to my girls and they hugged me, even though I felt a bit unwell. Over their heads, I caught a glimpse of Don carrying the pot of soup out of the room. He had a big smile on his face, and just for a moment before he turned away, I saw his eyes shining. All weekend, they took care of me. They helped me to the bathroom, made sure I was clean, and ensured I ate. When I started feeling better, we even played Yahtzee together. This time, Don joined in, and I felt really happy with how well I did. On Sunday, I was feeling a lot better. While I looked after my girls at Don's apartment, he handed me a key to it. On Thursday, when I tried to give it back, he insisted that I might need it later. So, I thought that was fair. I called the security desk and set up a key card for Don for the building and the parking area. I also gave him a key to my condo door for emergencies. He tried to politely decline, but I gave him my best sick look, and he accepted the keys. I made sure the girls finished all their homework while they were there. We watched a movie on Saturday night in my room, and on Sunday, we watched 2 more. Don made some blueberry cobbler and served it with vanilla ice cream. I was getting tired of chicken soup, so the cobbler was a nice change. I told the girls to go home on Sunday night to get ready for school, but they didn't want to leave. Megan and Robin looked at me with wide eyes and pretended to have tears, saying, "You want us to go? You don't like us anymore, Maria?" I knew they were acting, but it worked. "You know I love you. I'm just worried you don't have your school clothes ready and it's a long drive from here." They both perked up instantly, those clever little ones. "Oh, don't worry about that. Dad already picked up our school clothes and his work clothes, and I promised to get up extra early tomorrow so we will have plenty of time," Megan said with a straight face. "Yeah, right. I'll believe that when I see it." The next morning, Don's alarm clock woke me up. I didn't want to miss the fun, so I forced myself to stay awake. First, Don took a shower, and then he called for my girls, trying to wake Robin up. Of course, there was no answer from Megan, so he left their room and returned with a coffee cup in his hand. I could imagine him trying to get Megan up gently. However, that didn't seem to work, so he went back to the kitchen. He walked by my room, saw I was awake, and with a big smile, he pointed at a glass full of ice cubes in his other hand. I smiled back and nodded. 1 minute passed, then 2, and suddenly there was a loud shout. "Daddy, that's cold!" Good girl. I had been helping her change her language. I was worried she might say something she shouldn't. "Shh, sweetie. You don't want to wake Maria. She needs her rest," Don said. What a clever guy, using me as an excuse to keep things quiet and get Megan up. I would remember that for the future. Megan and Robin tiptoed into my room before they left and softly said goodbye. I found it hard to pretend to be asleep. Once they left, I waved goodbye to Don, who smiled widely at me. He waved his phone at me and signaled that we would talk later. I nodded to show I understood. Once they left, I felt hungry and decided to get something to eat. I was surprised to find that he had made cinnamon rolls with lots of icing. I enjoyed 2 of them with a cup of tea and then returned to bed. That afternoon, Don called and firmly told me he would be stopping by after his therapy session. He said it was close to my place, and he wanted to make sure I had a proper dinner since I had been unwell. I tried to say no, but he reminded me that he had a key, leaving me with no choice. I was glad I had given him those keys. Don arrived around 7. I had taken a shower and put on clean pajamas that day. I soon realized that he must have done all my laundry while I was sick. He even cleaned everything. But knowing Don, he probably thought nothing of it. Like a kind hero, always helping. I didn't put on any makeup. I wanted to look a little under the weather. This was the first time I would be alone with Don, and I felt a bit nervous. During the day, I had eaten 2 more cinnamon rolls and made a sandwich, but I wanted to keep that to myself. I was going to enjoy being taken care of. "Hi, Maria. Are you feeling better?" he asked. "Yes, thank you, Don," I replied, trying to hide my cough. "Did Megan and Robin make it to school okay?" "Yes, they did. They really wanted to come back tonight, but they need to spend some time with Barbara, too, or things might get tricky with custody. I told them I didn't have time to pick them up, which is true. I didn't want to think about Barbara. I was relieved he didn't call her their mother. I realized I was becoming too protective of Megan and Robin, and even of Dawn. I didn't care. She had changed their lives in a big way. I would never show my true feelings about her, but I doubted she would ever earn my respect. "Maria, after being sick, there are 2 comfort foods that I find reassuring. I can make you anything you want, but would you prefer French toast with some nice ham or a plain hamburger?" He looked eager when he asked. "Don, French toast and ham sound wonderful." I decided to add a playful tone to my voice as I pulled my covers up. I tried to sound like a happy child. "Are you going to use your homemade sourdough bread? And do you have the special maple syrup that Robin loves?" He totally fell for my act, and I was ready to enjoy this moment. He replied seriously, "Yes to both, and I have some really good ham, too." "You stay right there, and I'll bring it to you." 30 minutes later, he returned with my dinner on a tray. I sat up in bed and placed the tray on my lap. I had never owned a tray like this, so I knew Don had gone out to buy one just for me. Everything looked tasty, and he even made me some hash browns with onions. He also brought in one of my small tables for his food, so we could eat together. We had a great chat about many things. We talked about Megan and Robin, both my homes, his home, dancing, skiing, old movies, and he even opened up about his talks with his therapist. I noticed he kept the conversation light. He mentioned a time when his therapist had laughed a lot. He started to explain what made them laugh, but suddenly stopped, saying it was a secret for now. It would be a lie to say I wasn't curious, but no matter how much I asked, he wouldn't share. Since it was Christmas time, we decided to watch A Christmas Carol, the version with Alistair Sim. At first, we planned to watch it in my room, but I really wanted to get out of bed, so we moved to my entertainment room. I was careful getting out of bed. Don thought I was weak from my illness and quickly wrapped his arms around me. Since I didn't say anything, he gently picked me up and carried me to the couch in the other room. Vanessa was right. He was strong and made me feel very light. I thanked him as he set up the DVD. I think I own every Christmas movie ever made. I just knew he would choose to sit in the armchair rather than next to me on the couch. I had to change that. "Oh my!" I exclaimed when he got close to sitting down. I placed my hand on my forehead and leaned back, acting like I was in discomfort. Don hurried over, just as I planned, and softly touched my shoulder. "Maria, are you okay?" He looked worried, breathing deeply. I quickly took his hand and gently pulled him onto the couch beside me, pretending I needed comfort. Don, concerned about me, didn't resist. I realized he was waiting for me to answer his question. "Oh, Don." I felt a sharp headache for a moment, and then I felt a little dizzy. "Maria, maybe I should take you back to bed." "No, Don. Please, I think it's better for me to sit up for a while. I've been lying down too much these past few days. The headache only lasted a second, and the dizziness is gone. So let's just sit here and enjoy the movie." My plan worked. Don was here with me. It turned out Don loved Christmas movies as much as I did. He shared how his family had a tradition of watching all the classic animated Christmas shows on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Day, after opening gifts, they began watching all the classic holiday movies. This was a tradition that needed to be finished before New Year's Eve, as he happily pointed out. But because of the divorce, the plans were delayed by a day. He believed that Christmas really began only when he was with Megan and Robin. Although he went to church on the 25th, he felt Christmas didn't truly start for him until the 26th. He thought God, being a family man, would understand. "Maria, I get the kids back on Christmas night. Would you like to spend it with us, and the 26th too?" Don asked, a bit shy. It would mean a lot to them, and to me. The crowd responded with excitement, cheering her name. In a quiet tone, I replied, "Oh, Don, I would love to spend it with you and the kids. Maybe we could do it at my home in the mountains? I have a big Christmas tree I put up every year. I would enjoy showing it to Megan and Robin. That sounds wonderful, Maria. Thanks for offering. I know they love your place. If I pick them up at 6, we could be there by 8:30. We missed quite a bit of the movie, but we paused our chatting for the best parts, of course. After Don helped me back into bed, he headed home to his apartment. My place felt unusually empty without him. I told Megan and Robin that we would spend Christmas with Maria. They were excited but also a bit nervous. "We need to find Maria an amazing present. What should we get her?" they asked. Their question made me worried. After buying all our ski gear, it was important to find the right gift for Maria. "And what about Vanessa, Freddie, and Kathy?" I added, which made them even more anxious. Suddenly, I had an idea. One of my tenants is a jewelry designer in training. He has a special apprenticeship and has already made some of his own pieces. While he faced some struggles in his apartment, I had let him use my workshop in the basement, where I kept my tools. So I called him to see if he could help. "Hi, Ken. Thanks for coming. My daughters and I have a little situation. We have 4 new friends who have really helped us these past months. We want to get them presents that will impress." "Sure thing, Don. I have some time right now. Things have been tricky this month, but I can make 4 pieces of jewelry in 16 days. What do you have in mind?" "I was hoping to tell you about these women, give you a budget, and let you create some nice designs." "Don't worry, no pressure," I said with a big smile. "Thanks, Don. I'll let my boyfriend know what a great guy you are," Ken replied, half joking. I shrugged. "I really don't know what to get for them, but it's important to us to find the best gifts." Just then, Robin spoke up with a cheerful tone. I knew she had something in mind. Megan seemed to sense that too. "Daddy, remember before we met Maria you were talking about Queen and Rock Hudson? Well, I was wondering about Ken and... Robin, let's not go into that. Rock Hudson's personal life isn't what we need to discuss. Don, what's happening here? I think my daughter is what's happening and she can be a bit curious. If we encourage her... But Daddy, Robin, let's stay focused. Rock Hudson didn't define himself that way, and neither does Ken. Do you understand?" "Actually, Don, I think my boyfriend might be thinking about his own feelings. Megan and Robin see that their dad is getting advice from a friend who thinks differently about relationships. Have they learned about stereotypes in school?" He gave me a big grin. "Don't start with me, or I'll charge you extra for guests since your friend is always hanging around." I worked hard to shift the topic. My girls, bless them, already knew the birthdays of the people we were shopping for and what jewelry they liked. Maria loves necklaces and earrings. Freddie and Vanessa prefer earrings and bracelets, while Kathy enjoys earrings and has a soft spot for vintage pins. Ken seemed interested, mentioning that he rarely got to make pins. We went back to my office to talk about prices. I told him I wanted only good materials. I preferred something simple but made of quality metals and gems instead of something flashy and made of cheap stuff. For Maria, I suggested a budget of $10,000 to $15,000, and for her friends, $3,000 to $5,000, leaning towards the higher end. Ken mentioned he needed a check up front for materials and would charge me $1,000 for each piece he made for Maria's friends. But for Maria, it would be $2,000. That felt fair to me. I wasn't an expert in jewelry. Ken seemed reliable and he lived close by. I also told him he could skip next month's rent as a bonus. I just asked him to give it his best shot. I wrote him a check for $20,000 and gave him a credit card number for any immediate costs. If he needed more money, he knew how to get in touch with me. I was spending a significant amount of my yearly income, but with how my life had changed recently, it felt like a good investment. After Ken left, I returned to my daughters. "Megan, Robin, I just had an idea." Oh, Daddy is thinking again." "I thought we asked you to stop that," Megan said with a smile. I thought she was my well-behaved child. She and Robin exchanged high fives. "I promised to find some online work for you two, and you'll be eating a lot of fresh sushi for months." That got their attention. "We are getting gifts for our new friends, and they might not expect this. Since we are new in their lives, it's likely they won't get us anything, which is fine. I am happy just to have them as friends. So, if we don't receive gifts from them, let's not look disappointed, okay? We wouldn't want to hurt their feelings. After all, look at us. We almost forgot to get them something too." Megan and Robin exchanged looks and shook their heads. Dad, you think that's a good idea? Megan said. Just being with them, especially Maria, is enough for us. We know better than to act spoiled. Megan, I think Daddy is just getting older. His brain might be slowing down, Robin added. I planned to give them a light nudge, hoping they would laugh. Maria came by as usual on Wednesday and spoke about the upcoming weekend. She was excited about decorating her house for Christmas, which got Megan and Robin all animated. They began chatting eagerly about how to decorate Maria's home. She wanted them to join her for shopping on Thursday night for decorations, but they had to say no. They hadn't spent enough time with their mom lately and felt they needed that evening together. Maria understood, but I thought she looked a little sad when they mentioned their mother. Then, to my surprise, Megan suggested I go with Maria. Maria looked hopeful, and I told them I would be happy to go. I truly was, as I always enjoyed Christmas. Back when I was married, Barbara would often not understand my joy during this season. That Thursday night, I met Maria at her place to go shopping. We took her bigger SUV. Surprisingly, she asked me to drive. Here's how the evening went. We would pass a store, and she would suddenly say, "Ooh, stop here, there's a parking space." The space she pointed out was barely big enough for a motorcycle, let alone her SUV, so I would have to find a better spot. I'd offer to drop her off at the door, but she'd politely refuse. So we would walk back to the store from the parking area, and she'd tease me about passing the first spot. To make it even more amusing as we walked by the space I had skipped, we often saw that someone had already parked there, often in a vehicle bigger than Maria's SUV. I couldn't figure out how they managed that or how they got out afterward. That little scene happened more than once that night. After the third time, I just gave the keys back to Maria. We went to a few more stores, and sure enough, one of them had a parking spot that seemed way too small. Maria looked at me with a strong look and pulled right in. We had a funny time getting in and out of the SUV, carefully moving around the shopping bags and using the back to climb in and out. I didn't dare complain, though. Maria was very determined. Despite the tricky parking, I had a wonderful time that night. We bought decorations, tinsel, lights, and Christmas village sets. Maria even got a special Christmas train that could run around her home without tracks. The train had 3 cars that could hold small gifts or treats. It came with a charger that looked like a little train station, and when the battery got low, the train would go back to the station to recharge. It wasn't cheap, but she believed that Megan and Robin would really enjoy it. I could see Maria was truly excited about it, too. That weekend was full of fun. We decorated, skied, danced, and shared plenty of meals. Maria invited her 3 friends to join our late Christmas celebration. Freddie would already be there with Maria starting on the 23rd. And once Vanessa and Kathy heard about our plans for the 26th, they asked to come over to Maria's early in the morning for a second Christmas. The whole group would be together again at Maria's home for Megan and Robin. Maria's regular visit on the Wednesday before Christmas felt a bit sad for me because afterward, I wouldn't see my daughters until the 25th. I knew that I probably saw them more than usual, but I loved spending time with them. I found myself hoping that Maria might invite me to do something during the next week, but she didn't talk about any plans. However, we enjoyed our time together. We watched Miracle on 34th Street, and I made a cake just for them. When morning came, everyone left, and it felt quite lonely afterward. Across town, Barbara was having a tough time with the holiday season while thinking about her life. The past couple of months had been very hard. I hardly saw Megan and Robin at all. I didn't want to complain, knowing it was my responsibility. Don wanted to spend time with them, and of course they wanted to see their father, but where did that leave me, feeling like an outsider? When everything started over 2 years ago, Don was supposed to have them every weekend from Saturday morning to Sunday night. Then it changed to Friday night to Monday morning. Since then, they added Wednesday night too, and sometimes another night during the week. I saw my daughters at most 3 nights a week, sometimes just 2. I could go out with friends on the nights I was alone, but my close friends were mostly gone. After the divorce, many of them drifted away. They were upset with me for how I had treated Don, and I understand why. I was not being my best self. Some people I go out with only do so because I pay. The only time I feel a bit happy is when I'm on a date. For a little while I can forget my worries, but when the night ends I feel even worse. I'll never find someone like Don, and I don't really want to try. I must have lost my mind. At least I'll have Megan and Robin with me next week. We're going to my parents' house. I love my kids, but sometimes it's hard to be alone with them. Their looks can really hurt, as if they're asking, "Why did you break our family?" I feel terrible when that happens. With my parents around, there will be other things to focus on, so I won't notice those looks as much. I know I'll still get a few from my mom. I remember how Dad tried to blame some of my choices on Don one time. Mom didn't accept that and made it clear she wasn't happy with either of us. It changed things for him. Mom has never said anything negative about me. I know she still cares, but she is very disappointed. She once tried to give me advice, but it didn't help much given how tough things felt. When Don divorced me, it hurt deeply, but my heart kept going. Now it seems to break a little more each day. A glance from my daughters, a memory of Don, a look from my mother, and other moments make it feel even weaker. I struggle emotionally, and I find myself wondering if anyone will think of me when I'm gone. My daughters are home from school. I watch their happy faces change. As they walk up the street, they look joyful, probably talking about their time with their father. But when they come in, their faces turn serious. They don't mean to hurt me, but it still happens. "Mom, we're home," says my oldest. "I'm in the kitchen," I reply. I'm trying to make them an after-school snack. I can cook decent meals, but I can never quite make things like Don did. I've given up on baking. Today I made a toasted club sandwich for them. I wonder if they will eat it this time, or if they will say they aren't hungry again. Their footsteps are coming closer. That's strange. Their footsteps don't sound normal. Since the divorce, they have walked slowly towards me, as if they were hesitant. But now they seem full of energy. I looked up with hope. "Hi, Mom, we missed you," Robin said, rushing over to hug me. I was a bit confused, but happy. I hugged my daughter back, and she held on tightly until I finally let go. It felt amazing. I gently touched the top of her head as I released her. Robin stepped up next, giving me another warm hug. Bliss. "Oh, I missed both of you so much. How was school? And how was your time with your dad?" That was a safe question to ask. They would tell me all about school, but keep things vague about Don. I reminded myself why they did that, and I knew I deserved it. As Robin pulled back, I kissed her cheek. "I hope you're hungry. I made you some sandwiches with chips." "I'm starving, Mom," Robin said, pulling out a chair to sit. Megan sat down too and asked, "Do we have any bread and butter pickles?" "I'm sure we do. I'll check," I replied, hurrying to the refrigerator and hoping we had pickles. I wanted to keep the good mood going. Luckily, we had them, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I sat down with them, and for the first time in years, we had a wonderful conversation. I felt so good that I got up to make myself a sandwich, even though I hadn't been very hungry lately. I was in for another surprise. Megan and Robin didn't leave the table after they finished their snacks. They stayed and talked with me until it started getting dark outside. Then they left to do some homework, and I started making dinner. After they left the room, I leaned over the table, overcome with feelings, and wished for this change in my daughter's behavior to last. Friday after school was just as great. Had they finally forgiven me? On Saturday, we packed the car to visit my parents. They live about 45 minutes away, outside of town. The drive was fun. For the first time in a long while, they put a CD in the player, and we all sang along. We used to do that all the time with Don, dashing through the snow in a one-horse. I usually drive a bit over the speed limit, but this time I went the exact speed, grateful for anything that could make the trip last longer. When we arrived, my kids jumped out of the car to hug Grandma and Grandpa. It had been a while since that last happened. Mom looked over their heads at me and saw my smiling face. Her expression lit up into a big grin, and her eyes sparkled with tears. We enjoyed 6 wonderful days together. We did all the family activities we used to love. We played games, watched movies, and Megan and Robin spent a lot of time with my mother, learning to bake some family recipes. Maybe they would have the talent. I certainly didn't. On Christmas Eve, Megan and Robin pulled out DVDs of It's a Charlie Brown Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, and other holiday cartoons. They made us all sit down and enjoy the time together. It was just wonderful, and we watched DVDs for 4 hours straight. I sat on the couch with my children snuggled up on either side of me. I felt so happy. On Christmas morning, we went to church after breakfast and then came home to open presents. Megan and Robin had a small gift for me. I opened the box with shaking hands. Inside was a lovely, well-made, heart-shaped gold locket and chain. Inside the locket was a picture of them smiling together and a note that said, "Merry Christmas, Mom. We love you, Megan and Robin." I couldn't stop crying. It was the best Christmas present I had ever received. That evening, Don came to pick up Megan and Robin, and my mom went outside to help them. I knew I had to stay inside. Don had told me he never wanted to see me again. As for my father, he and Don had never gotten along. Dad was a successful banker and an ex-football player who almost went pro. To say Dad was proud would be an understatement. He has changed a lot, though. I remember Dad and Don had a disagreement once. Dad often bothered Don for no reason. But one day they went for a long walk. I could picture the moment. Don standing up to Dad and Dad getting defensive. When they returned, Dad had some signs on him, but Don looked fine. Dad said he fell. After that, they were polite to each other, and Dad seemed to respect Don a bit more. I was sad to see Megan and Robin leave, but this Christmas had been the best. Maybe it was time for me to make some changes in my life. My daughter's love and this locket seemed to give me strength to try. Megan and Robin were proud of themselves. Their therapist had helped them understand how they had been treating their mother. They had also felt guilty about treating Maria better than me at times. Yes, their mom had made mistakes, but she was still their mom. She loved them very much. It was time to forgive her. They got some advice from Ken about the locket. He couldn't make anything for them, but he gave them the name of a website with nice jewelry. Their dad lent them his credit card, they placed the order, and when it arrived, Ken inscribed the locket for them. They loved Maria now, but they had always loved their mother. Their hearts were big enough to love both. We arrived at Maria's house after singing Christmas carols all the way. My voice was tired. It was nice that Maria had given me a key card to the gate. It made it easy to get in. She said it made sense to give it to me since I already had keys to her condo. Megan and Robin jumped out of the car and ran to Maria and Freddie to hug them before we unloaded the car and went inside. Once we finished unpacking, Megan and Robin took us down to the movie room to watch animated Christmas shows. They seemed excited, like they had never seen them before, and Robin wanted to start with Rudolph. My girls wanted everyone to wear comfy clothes, but I chose to put on a robe instead of pajamas. Megan and Robin asked us to sit together on one couch, all tucked under a blanket. Freddie was on one end, then Robin, I was in the middle, followed by Megan, and finally Maria on the other end. Freddie and Maria found it amusing how we were sitting. Between Charlie Brown and Frosty, I went to the kitchen to get us some cake. When I returned, I noticed that Megan and Robin had swapped places. They spent most of the evening making sure we were warm and cozy together. I felt a bit cramped being in the center under the blanket, as it got quite warm. But the girls were having so much fun, so I kept my thoughts to myself and tried to cope with the heat. The next morning, we all slept in. When we finally got up, the adults and Megan enjoyed their coffee while the rest of us waited for breakfast until Vanessa and Kathy arrived. They showed up around 9. The girls wanted everyone to stay in comfy clothes, so they asked Kathy and Vanessa to join in too. The two ladies were happy to go along with it. After all, it was all about comfort. There were lots of presents under the tree, most of which seemed to be for Megan and Robin. I wondered how I could take so many gifts home and if we could leave some in my girls' room for now. They received the usual gifts like clothes, shoes, games, books, DVDs, CDs, and some lovely jewelry. Maria also bought them nice laptop computers for school. I felt a little jealous since my laptop was not as good. I received some gifts too. Vanessa gave me a gift card to Sears with a hint to buy something useful. Freddie gave me one to Lowe's and Kathy gave me another for Home Depot. They really know my tastes. Maria gave me a card showing a fancy chair called an Aaron office chair, which looked amazing. She told me to call the number on the picture to arrange delivery. Then it was time to distribute gifts. Robin and Megan seriously handed them out. Ken had created some beautiful items, and I was surprised at how affordably I got them. I wasn't sure if he made everything himself or if he ordered parts and put them together. But he had all the materials sent to him quickly and worked many late nights in my workshop and at a jeweler's shop he rented time in. Freddie received a lovely bracelet and earring set made of 18-karat rose gold. The bracelet featured little dragons and flowers linked together, with Freddie's birthstone at the center of each flower. Her earrings were shaped like carnations with a diamond in the middle. Vanessa received a similar gift. Her jewelry was made of white gold. The bracelet showed linked tigers and lilies, with her birthstone in the center of each lily. The earrings matched the lilies and also had a diamond. Kathy wore yellow gold jewelry. Her brooch looked like a bunch of dahlias, each with her birthstone, and if you looked closely, you could see the face of a lion with diamond eyes. Her earrings were also dahlias, featuring diamonds in the center. For Maria, Ken went above and beyond. He used platinum this time. The necklace had linked roses and small diamonds in the center. A large pendant showed 3 roses, also decorated with diamonds. The earrings were a perfect match for the pendant. The 4 women were completely amazed, their faces showing their surprise. My daughters and I high-fived. Maria's pendant had a small note on its back. I knew the ladies could buy more expensive items, but at least it was well made. I thought about giving Ken an extra month of free rent for his hard work, especially since he had been facing some money issues. Last night was my best Christmas in a long time as we watched cartoons together. First, Megan cuddled up with me, and then Robin came over. Freddie and I kept sneaking glances at each other and smiled each time. She had a wonderful time, too. Vanessa and Kathy arrived a bit late the next morning, and Megan and Robin encouraged them to wear pajamas like the rest of us. We all sat around the tree watching the girls open their presents first. I realized I might have spent too much on them, and Dawn might be unhappy, but it was worth it. Their excited reactions, especially to the notebook computers, made every penny worth it, and I even noticed a hint of envy on Don's face. Don laughed at the mix of gift cards he received for different tool shops. At first he was puzzled by my gift, but he soon figured it out and looked pleased. I was touched that they thought to get gifts for all of us. First, they gave Freddie her gift, and I was preparing myself to look impressed. I was truly shocked by the beautiful jewelry they gave her. I know jewelry, and I have pieces worth a lot of money. The items Freddie held must have been worth at least $10,000. Then it was Vanessa's turn. They brought her a box the same size as Freddie's. Her jewelry was just as beautiful, but in white gold instead of rose. My jaw dropped in amazement. Vanessa and Freddie looked as surprised as I felt. Kathy opened her gift with some nervousness. Her new jewelry was in shiny yellow gold, and there was one brooch that cleverly hid a lion's face, which was quite beautiful. Next, it was my turn, and I had been worried they'd think I spent too much. Megan and Robin handed me a large, heavy present. When I opened it, I couldn't believe my eyes. I picked up the jewelry, and right away, I knew it was platinum. It was all diamonds, no lesser stones in sight. The pieces Don had given me were probably worth more than my new car. I needed to say something about this gift. Then I noticed the message on the back of the pendant. Merry Christmas, love Megan, Robin, and Don. That made me pause. It was hard to feel upset about something so thoughtful. The ladies started comparing their jewelry, and all at once they exclaimed, "You shouldn't have." Unfortunately, they sounded serious, and I felt a bit worried, so I did what any dad would do. I blamed my kids. I pointed at them and said, "They made me do it." You see, Megan and Robin were really excited about the gifts they had received and given. They had no idea how much money I spent, so they felt proud to take credit for helping me buy such nice gifts for our friends. Yep, Daddy almost forgot. You know how men are. We had to remind him about Christmas presents, Robin said, trying to sound wise. I was focused on Robin and didn't notice Maria for a moment. Suddenly, I felt a tug on my ear as if someone had grabbed it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Maria looking serious while holding my ear. Everyone turned to see what was happening. Maria smiled and said, "Oh, don't mind us. I just need to talk to Don for a minute." She pulled me along by my ear. I had to lean over and walk in a way that made it hard to stand up straight. Wasn't there a famous person who got hurt over something like this? Megan and Robin tried to follow, but Kathy and Vanessa held them back. Freddie had a big smile at first, but then she started to look worried. Maria took me all the way back to her office and closed the door, still holding onto my ear. "Donald, what were you thinking, spending so much on my jewelry and my friends' gifts?" "But I didn't," I protested. She tugged on my ear, which made me nervous. Wasn't there an artist who sacrificed something for a special gift? Don't tell me you didn't. I know platinum when I see it. This jewelry is custom made. I've never seen anything like it before. You really spent too much on us. Why did you do this? Are you trying to buy our friendship? She looked at me with tears in her eyes and finally let go of my ear. I had messed up again. It was time to apologize. There's no need for tears. I need a drink. I quickly realized that didn't make sense, so I needed a new approach. Maria, please, let me explain. She started reaching for my ear again, so I put a heavy chair between us. Maria, please, listen for just 5 minutes. If you still want to be upset after that, I'll even get you something to help. Please. She crossed her arms and glared at me. Talk! The last few months with you and your friends have been amazing for my kids and me. Our lives have changed a lot for the better. My kids are back in therapy and really getting help. I found the strength to get help, too. Without you, I don't know how long we would have stayed in pain. So we wanted to make sure we got you a nice present for Christmas to thank you for everything you have done and for being our friend. Oh, no. She looked serious again. I needed to say more. Maria, I'm glad you think I spent a lot because I like good deals, but honestly, I didn't spend that much. I have a tenant who designs jewelry well, more like he is looking for work in that area. All those pieces cost me less than $30,000, really. He used my workspace for a lot of it. Not that you're not worth more, but it wasn't $80,000. I spent about a third of my yearly salary on it. It was worth it to me. I just wanted to get you something nice to make you happy. My girls feel the same way. I'm really sorry if you don't want it, and please don't be angry with me. Now you can be upset if you want. I stepped out from behind the chair and bent my head down, thinking she could take her anger out on my ear if she wanted. Instead, she grabbed my ear and pulled me in for a brief kiss. I was taken by surprise. What was happening? She wasn't stopping, and her arms wrapped around me. I couldn't pull away now. I was frustrated with Don. He was spending more money than he should, but I would listen to his side before deciding what to do. He seemed very good at finding a way to make things right, which is a nice quality in a partner. He wanted to thank me and make me happy? I had really helped them? The pieces only cost $30,000? That seemed hard to believe, but he looked sincere. Now he was coming out from behind that chair, looking down. What would I do with him? The only right thing to do was to take his ear, pull him close, and give him a gentle kiss. Oh, it was a nice kiss, even though our mouths were closed. Maybe I should try to relax a bit. Suddenly, I felt an urge to gently touch Don's lips with my tongue. His lips began to part, and things felt like they were getting better. He was very soft with me, though I sensed strong emotions beneath his calm surface. His hands rested comfortably on my back, and I could tell he wanted to pull me closer. I held my breath, hoping he could feel our connection, even with my worries from the past still in my mind. Then, a loud noise broke the moment. The door burst open and I heard a scramble as 5 people entered the room. Don and I quickly moved apart and fixed our appearances. "What are you all doing here?" I shouted at them. Megan and Robin jumped up and hid behind Vanessa and Kathy, who pushed Freddie forward. "It was her idea. She was nervous because you looked so upset," Freddie said, trying to step back, but they held her in place. "Freddie?" I just came to take a peek. Then Megan and Robin followed, and then Kathy and Vanessa followed them. We just opened the door a little when it got quiet, and we all tumbled in. I sighed with relief. They hadn't seen anything. I almost moved too quickly with Don. They had saved me, but I felt a bit bad they had. Don started to move past the crowd at the door, saying, "I'm going to begin breakfast." Megan and Robin followed him, eager to help. My friends looked at me with worried expressions. I picked up the beautiful jewelry that Don had given me and put it on slowly. Soon, my friends smiled and rushed off to find their own jewelry. During breakfast, we all admired each other's pieces. It made Megan and Robin very happy, although Kathy seemed a bit odd wearing a brooch with her pajamas. After breakfast, we decided it was pajama day. Don didn't want to join, but the rest of us felt relaxed. Since breakfast was so late, we just called it lunch. We spent the afternoon watching 2 movies and enjoying more cake. Don made his special Christmas dinner for us. He insisted on it, and when I almost refused, my friends looked surprised, making me change my mind. He prepared a spinach salad without bacon for Freddie. As a starter, we had steamed mussels with white wine and garlic. Freddie got the biggest king crab legs that Don could find. For the rest of us, Don made a huge, garlic-encrusted prime rib with Yorkshire pudding. It was so tasty. I can't remember having a prime rib that good before, but maybe I had. He also made sweet yams, which he seems to like more than baked potatoes. I know a 14-pound prime rib is meant to serve more than 6 people, but there didn't seem to be much left when we finished eating. Once again, we were too full to move. Don did all the cooking, so we felt we should help clean up, but we were too tired. Kind Don sent us all out of the kitchen and cleaned up by himself. We rolled into the great room and sat around the Christmas tree, enjoying the feeling of another wonderful meal. If Don and I hadn't been interrupted, I would have wanted to keep him close forever. Follow the plan, Maria, follow the plan. Don't rush it. This is too important to hurry. I must have been the happiest person in the world. Maria had shown me kindness. Maria had shown me kindness. Oh, wow, what could have happened if they hadn't walked in? I really don't know what it means. I know Maria likes me, but does she truly care? That is the big question. Maybe she was just surprised by the gift and the thought behind it. She feels so out of my reach. These things just don't happen. I spent a lovely hour and a half cleaning the kitchen, much longer than I needed, happily thinking about Maria and me together. When I finished, I went to the great room and found everyone sleeping peacefully on various pieces of furniture. I looked down at Maria lying there, and I felt the urge to carry her upstairs. One day I would act on my feelings, but not today with Megan and Robin around. I didn't want to risk their friendship with Maria. Everyone was sleeping so soundly that I didn't have the heart to wake them, so I found a chair where I could watch Maria's calm face and sat down to wait. It took about half an hour for Kathy to wake up. I think she needed to go to the bathroom. She suddenly sat up, looking around the room as if she didn't know where she was, then reached over and shook Freddie awake. Freddie nudged Vanessa, and silently they all walked off. They smiled at me as they passed. It was funny that they didn't wake Maria. Why do women always seem to go to the bathroom in groups? Freddie turned to Kathy and Vanessa. Why did you two have to come with me to Maria's office? They were so close. She held up her fingers, showing just a small gap between them. Vanessa replied, We didn't come with you. We were trying to stop Megan and Robin. Why did you open the door? If you hadn't, we wouldn't have ended up in there. I wasn't opening it. I was closing it. Then you 4 came rushing down the hallway, and before I could shut the door quietly, you all bumped into me and I stumbled back. Kathy asked, Did you see anything interesting? Oh, yes. They were really focused on each other. It was unclear if Don would sit on the couch first, or if Maria would give him a little nudge. Vanessa asked, Do you still think we need to go through with this plan to help Don date other women? Kathy replied, Sadly, yes, Maria sees herself as very charming while Don feels down about himself. He's likely making excuses for Maria's interest in him, anything except thinking she might truly care. It's frustrating that Maria doesn't see how he really feels about her. It's so clear that it's hard to watch. It's good to help Don feel better about himself if it means he can shake off that negative view. But if Maria would just share her feelings more openly, things could get better much quicker. The big thing is that Don has to be ready to accept Maria's past. I swear, if Maria misses her chance with Don, I will make a move, Vanessa said firmly. That's how I feel too, Freddie agreed. I can't believe you two. Maria deserves the first opportunity even if it takes her some time. I like Don, but I don't think he could really impress me, Kathy said. You don't think he would be a great husband? Vanessa asked with curiosity. Oh, he might make a good husband for someone else, but I prefer guys with a bit of edge, and he definitely isn't one of those, Kathy replied. Are we still going to surprise Don tomorrow, Kathy? Freddie asked. Yes, Freddie, and Maria said she wants to include the kids tonight. She'll talk to them after Don goes to bed. We'll watch one more Christmas movie tonight and then switch to a different one. Come on, let's head back before someone looks for us. I was still feeling mixed up from earlier when I was with Don, and the evening felt like a blur. Don had trouble looking at me, and I found it hard to look at him too. When the second movie started, he went to bed. After about 20 minutes, we paused the DVD. Megan, Robin, if you don't mind, there's something we want to discuss with you. Everyone gathered around, and I began to explain things to my girls. My 3 friends and I care about you both a lot. We also care about your dad very much. We found out some things about him that make us want to help. What's that, Maria? Is something wrong with Daddy? Asked Megan, sounding worried. No, nothing serious, but he has a unique situation for a man his age. Let me put it this way. Megan, you and your friends are probably starting to talk a bit about boys, and soon you might even start dating. It's normal for young people to date around 16, but your dad had to work hard all his life taking care of his mother and sisters, even as a teenager. Because of this, he has only had one important relationship in his life, and that is with your mother. This is quite unusual for a man his age. Please don't be upset with me for saying this, and don't be upset with your mother either, but he hasn't really had a regular relationship with her. So, when it comes to dating women, he is a bit unsure and lacks confidence. Do you both understand what I mean? It's not his fault. Megan and Robin exchanged confused looks. I think I get what you're saying, Maria, but can you explain more? Robin asked, with Megan nodding in agreement. When I first met your dad, the way he helped me reminded me of a hero. But all the challenges he has faced recently have affected him, so my friends and I thought we would help him learn how to meet, talk to, and maybe even date women. We joked about polishing his confidence. Robin looked really puzzled, and so did Megan. Maria, he talks just fine with you, Freddie, Kathy, and Vanessa. What do you need to teach him? Robin questioned. Right now, your dad is our friend, but he doesn't know how to be a boyfriend. Are you saying our dad is a bit silly? Megan asked, sounding annoyed. Freddie and Kathy laughed, while Vanessa held back her laughter. I quickly said, well, sort of, but he's a really nice guy. That made Kathy, Freddie, and Vanessa laugh even harder, lighting up Megan's and Robin's faces. We really like him, and we just want to help him a little, like when we've been teaching him to dance. We think we can help him feel more confident, and then he can impress others. He'd better impress them, or I'll need to get involved. But Maria, we thought you kind of liked Daddy. We were really hoping that you and him could... Robin let her words fade, but I understood what she meant. I hugged the 2 of them tightly. I do really like your father in many ways. That's a big secret, so you must not tell him. But he has only ever really dated your mom, and he doesn't know how. I am one of the first women he has met since his divorce. I just need to be sure he is the right one for me, and I for him, and he needs to gain some confidence to be with someone else. If we help him feel good about himself, we can discover what kind of man he really is and what he wants in a partner. I see a lot in your dad that I really like, but he needs to feel better about himself first. Until we can help him with that, starting a relationship would not be a good idea. For example, you see how he goes out of his way to help us on the weekends. That's nice, but sometimes he takes it too far. He needs to look in the mirror and realize what a wonderful person he truly is, because he doesn't see that right now. Once he learns to respect himself, others will too. We believe that if we help him become a more confident and charming person, it will show to both him and others. Over time, we hope to help him feel better about himself. We really care about your dad and want the best for him. Do you understand? Why are you telling us this? Megan asked. Freddie, go get the caps, Kathy said. What caps? Well, it's a bit silly, but we started a little group to help your dad. We want to show him things like dancing, talking with women, staying healthy, dressing nicely, styling his hair, and even riding a horse. We think these are all things a true gentleman should know. It's not anything bad. We want to be open about this with him since we need his okay, and we thought you could help too. We can't be with him all the time, so we could use some extra support at home to keep an eye on him. Freddie quickly returned to the room, and Kathy began to talk again. How would you like to be junior members of the Polishing Don Association? Or you could call it the Polishing Dad Association. We even have some cool hats, and joining is free. Kathy took a hat from Freddie and put it on. It was dark gray with a knight's image. One side was shiny while the other was worn. Her hat had PDA written in fancy letters along with planning depth and her name. Freddie's had her name in comic relief on it. Vanessa's had her name and physical education depth stitched on it. When I got mine, it said President. Robin quickly grabbed hers and put it on. It had her name and junior member in big letters. Megan took hers, put it on, shook her head, and said, This is the silliest thing I've ever heard. I better join to keep an eye on you all, but I'm telling Daddy about this club, I will. Adults always make things so complicated. With that, she grabbed the DVD remote, pressed play, and settled back in her chair. She was mumbling to herself, and I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it. So, we all relaxed to finish the movie. When it ended, Megan and Robin went upstairs to bed instead of keeping it a movie night. The rest of us followed suit. The next morning, we all gathered at the kitchen table while Dawn made French toast. Megan was sipping her coffee when she turned to Robin and said, "You tell him. I need more sleep." Robin smiled and agreed. "Okay." "Daddy," she called out. "Yes, Pumpkin?" "Maria, Vanessa, Kathy, and Freddie think you're a dork." "That's true, honey, but I'm a nice dork." Dawn didn't even stop flipping the French toast. "Well, we started a club to help you be more charming so you can meet more people. Is that okay?" "That sounds good. I could use some help. Do we have to pay anything?" Robin looked at me and I quickly shook my head no. "No, Daddy, it's free." My friends were trying hard not to laugh. Freddie was giggling so much that tears ran down her cheeks, and she even made a funny sound through her nose. "What's the name of the group?" Dawn asked. "The Perfecting Daddy Association," Robin said. Megan didn't seem to care. She just sat there sipping her coffee as if this was normal for her. "That's a nice name. Do we get shirts?" Dawn inquired. "No, just hats," Robin replied. "Well, I guess that's better than nothing," Dawn said. With those serious words, we were officially starting something new together. I began to realize that maybe I could use some improvement too.